वहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। So let's do this. Let's chant about 5 verses. I'm just looking to see what will be most appropriate for today. Yeah, let's do 5 verses starting with verse number 16 of the 3rd chapter. 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20. For a reason I'll show you. So number 16 starts with Evam Pravartitam Chakram. So let's chant. You can just chant after me. Evam Pravartitam Chakram.
Evam Pravartitam Chakram.
Nanuvartayati Hayaha. Nanuvartayati Hayaha. Aghayurindriya Ramaha. Aghayu Indriya Ramaha. Mogham Partha Sajivati.
Mogham Partha Sajivati.
Yastvat Marati Reva Syat. Yastvat Marati Reva Syat. Atmatriptascha Manavaha.
Atmatriptascha Manavaha.
Atmanyeva cha santushtaha. Atmanyeva cha santushtaha. Tasya karyam na vidyate.
Tasya karyam na vidyate.
Naiva tasya krite narthaha. Naiva tasya krite narthaha. Na krite neha kaschana. Na krite neha kaschana. Nachasya sarvabhuteshu. Nachasya sarvabhuteshu. Kaschid arthavyapashrayaha. Kaschid arthavyapashrayaha. Tasmadasaktas satatam. Tasmadasaktas satatam. Karyam karma samacharaha. Karyam karma samachara. Karyam karma samachara. Asakto hyacharan karma. Asakto hyacharan karma. Param apnoti purushaha. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim. Asthita janakadayaha.
Asthita janakadayaha.
Lokasangrahamaevapi. Lokasangrahamaevapi. Sampashyan kartum arhasi.
Sampashyan kartum arhasi.
Okay. So as you know, we are revising the third chapter, Karma Yoga, which is a good thing to do. So I think the lesson I have learned in my life also is that sometimes you get lost in following the details of it and you don't get the full picture. It is kind of like, if you are, let's say there is a mosaic on the wall and you are standing too close to the mosaic, you are really lost into the very fine parts of the mosaic. But if you step back a little bit, you get the whole picture of what is the mosaic displaying. So in the revision of a chapter is kind of after you've looked at the particular aspect of the picture, then stepping back and looking at the whole thing is very useful to do. Not always I did that, but I think more and more I'm beginning to feel, for my own sake I do this. It's a very useful exercise. So it slows us down, but I think it is highly effective. So that's what we are trying to do. So in revising the third chapter, we've already gone through a couple of classes of the revision. And so there, what Arjuna presents in terms of the very first question itself is the fact that we are faced in our life with two choices. Essentially, there's lots of different ways of looking at it, but in this way of looking at it, two choices. So one would be called a pravritti marga. The other one is called nivritti marga. So pravritti marga, and so here this has to be understood that in the design of the whole creation by Ishvara, it is a very beautiful design. It's a very purposeful design. And this is part of, I think, what we have to grow into, is to see the design. It's almost like the same example I gave you earlier, that sometimes the whole life looks like a mosaic, where you are staring very close to the various segments of the mosaic. Life and how people behave and how you overcome problems. These are all parts of the mosaic. But it is not until, and when you are experiencing the various parts of the mosaic, you're not sure of the overall picture. You're not sure whether it has some kind of a purpose and a design. So really part of the growth is to understand that there is actually a picture that makes sense. It is a design which has been very designed by Ishvara for a purposeful ending. And in doing that, there are two options open to us. One is pravritti marga and the other one is nivritti marga. Because you can see how the design is done by Ishvara. So the Ishvara has given us actually three different powers to each one of us. One is a jnana shakti. Jnana Shakti means a power to know, to understand, and to be aware of. This is true for all of us, not just human beings. Even in the case of little animals, they have to be endowed with this Shakti to know. The only thing which does not have the Shakti to know are inert objects. And those are also very carefully designed. So the Jnana Shakti is one Shakti. The second Shakti is to do something about it. It's called Kriya Shakti. And the third one, which we will go into great detail some other time, is not appropriate at this time, is called Ichha Shakti. So Ichha Shakti means to decide what to do is the Ichha Shakti. So going back to the two main paths that we have, one is Pravritti Marga and the other one is Nivritti Marga. And so Arjuna at this point is a little confused because he says that I find more peace in Nivritti, in withdrawing from life and just being myself. And in fact, you have been telling me that that is the end point of our life. And I guess I see the taste of it already. And I want to really pursue that. Whereas you are telling me that I need to engage in life, and not only a simple engagement, but sort of like a troublesome engagement. So he says that I need some clarification between these two. On one hand, you are telling me that the Nivritti Marga is the perfect one. Sannyasa is the way to go. And on top of that, if you consider me as your best friend, excellent friend, and I am, and you've told me that I'm very dear to you, then why are you engaging me in this Pravritti Marga? So here Krishna explains in this whole chapter of the Karma Yoga, which he expands further into the rest of the Gita, is that really I understand your confusion and I still have the best thing available for you, but there is a reason why you need to pursue the Pravritti Marga. The reason is that you cannot will yourself into Nivritti Marga. You cannot force it. Because we know the consequences. I am, as Krishna says, as the very Ishvara, that the way my design is that until you're ready for Nivritti Marga, you will spoil things by doing partial Nivritti and partial Pravritti. How? Because what you will say is that I want to withdraw from everything, when in fact your duty is to really fulfill the promise of your Pravritti. And what will happen is that you will regret it. And the chances of regret are that you will feel bad about yourself and you will be even worse off than you began before. Because the Nivritti must be supported with understanding. And until you have some, and the way to understand is through mind, and until the mind is prepared, you are not going to really to grasp it and to maintain it and to sustain it. You're not going to be able to do it. I'm telling you that. Because, as we have discussed it before, Swami Dayanandaji was very articulate in saying that. He says it's almost like, and you know what, it's interesting. Swamiji, Dayanandaji used to say that. He said that a life of an active grihastha, of a householder, with the right attitude, is much more effective in reaching the point rather than a sannyasi who's forcing himself to become a sannyasi when he's not ready. He used to sell that from, he says, I can tell you from my experiences. And even I have come across, just to look at myself, I have come across people who are immature sannyasi. They are not ready for it. I think I gave you one example. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I'll give it again one more time. So there was a Swami that was actually given Diksha by Swami Dayanandji. I don't even remember his name now. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell it to you. And so this was like about 20 years ago. And this person had approached me and he said, I want to give some lectures in this area. And can I come? And so I said, fine, please come. I'll be glad to arrange it. And there was a student of mine who was very willing to entertain this guy, live with him, and arrange for the talk. So I said, Ramesh, his name was Ramesh, you do it. And so Ramesh was the one who was doing it, and I wasn't involved with that. So one day Ramesh called me and he said, I need to talk to you. Something bad has happened in my life, and so I said, what happened? So he came over to me and he said, this Swamiji was very interested in punctuality. He had to go there right on time. And he said, this is causing a problem for me because there's a lot happening and I have to get ready, and sometimes, it takes me a while. So in one of the talks, so Ramesh was, while he was taking him to the talks, he realized that his gas is so low, he had to go like 30 miles, he's not going to be able to do it. So he told Swamiji, they were already a few minutes late, he said, Swamiji, I'm very sorry, I have to give. This Swami became so angry that he got off the car and started walking. He said, I don't know what is he doing. He doesn't know the area. But he says, I'm not going with you anymore. You don't do that. And finally he had to convince him that, this, that. He says, I talked to Swamiji, Swami Dayanandji about this person. I said, this kind of a behavior is very strange. And Swamiji shook his head. He says, he kind of knew that. So here's a situation. You and I will probably not do that. But here's a Swami who was so frustrated because he is some kind of a strange thing that I have to be absolutely punctual, that he came up with this unreasonable behavior. So here Krishna also is saying that, listen, this is a problem we have. You find that, we have these very romantic ideas about ashrams. That, life in ashrams is so nice, we can just live there and we don't have the problems of family and so on and so forth. You get up in the morning, do prayers, then you attend some classes, then you study for a while, then you go for lunch, and then after lunch you take a nap. And after that, then you study some more. Then there's evening prayers. What a beautiful life it is. So nice. Here I have to get groceries. I've got to do this, that, and so on and so forth. And my tire gets flat. And none of this is terrible. It is not like that. Really, what you go is you go to the ashrams. And there are people. And there are people problems everywhere. You are supposed to do something and the other person didn't do it. Now, in a normal life, you can raise your voice a little bit and he says, hey, didn't we agree that you were supposed to do this? Now, why is it that you did the same thing the other day and then this is not right and so on and so forth? And he says, I know. You can do all of this. In the ashram, you cannot do this. You'll say, and the other person says, don't tell me anything. I'm a sannyasi, I'll do whenever I have time to do it. And so there is the normal frustrations of your life you cannot have. And this builds up. It builds up inside. Anyway, I'm just going into some details, but this is essentially what Krishna is telling Arjuna. It won't work. You cannot just go to Rishikesh and say, okay, I am done with this war. I am now meditating, because you will look for news about this. I wonder how this war is doing. What's it's going, because that's what your nature is. So I know I have the best for you. Nivritti Marga requires some readiness, and I don't see that you are ready yet. I'm sorry to tell you, but for the best thing is you kindly keep on going with your life. At the same time, look at life differently. While you are engaged, see a different picture about your life. So that seeing a different picture in your life is what is called Karma Yoga. So here, this is an important thing to see, you convert karma into a yoga. It is not normal karma. What our pravritti marga is that even if you fulfill your duties, this is still karma. But the karma yoga means that even though the karma that you are used to doing is the same, but your attitude is completely different. So the karma means the action and yoga means the attitude. This we saw briefly last time also. So there we saw that if you divide the word karma yoga into its constituents, which is karma and yoga, let's look at the karma first. So the karma is the kind of actions you should do should be sattvic in nature, as opposed to rajasic in nature, and as opposed to tamasic in nature. What are the differences again? The tamasic karmas are the ones where you accomplish things where you hurt someone. It's called tamasic karma. And you hurt yourself in the process, eventually, even though you don't think so. Rajasic karma, which is the next step over, are those karmas where you do not hurt anyone. You in fact benefit others as well, including your own family, but you do not benefit as much as you should. And so the word rajas means you are very desire prone. So this is one of the things in our life we have to see this. This is not an easy thing to see. The sattvic karma are the ones where you do things for your own benefit and for the maximum benefit of others. This is only possible if your desires are kept to an objective level rather than a subjective level. What do we mean by that? So everything that you do should be done on an as needed basis, nothing beyond that. I'll just take one example of that, okay, which is an entrepreneurship in this area, where you are trying to come up with something, some new ideas and making money and so on and so forth. If you do it on the basis of the fact that you do have some ideas and you want to fulfill them, fine. But if your desire is to make $1 billion before you turn 30, then this becomes a rajasic rather than a sattvic. And by the way, the same thing is true for everything, whether you're buying a home or you're driving a car. As long as it fulfills the functionality of your life, it's beautiful. But if you have some, in fact there's a technical word for it, it's called Shobhana Adhyasa. And Sobhanadhyasa Swami Dayananji used to be very clear about this. He says, look at what you're doing and evaluate your life. If you have some fancy ideas that, it'll be wonderful, the house I will build will be like this, and the car I will have will be like this, and so on and so forth, has nothing to do with functionality, then you have crossed the limit from Rajasic karma from Sattvic karma to Rajasic karma. And of course, Tamasic karma you should avoid completely, where you are doing things which are not ethical, are not legal, and so on and so forth. So in terms of the karma yoga, the type of karma has to be selected on the basis of your own benefit. And another thing here, I'm repeating myself, I talked about this last week also, but this is an important thing to see, that this classification of karmas, this choice of using karma as a karma yoga, only becomes relevant if the larger goal of being clear about the self has been understood. Again, you remember the example that I gave? Diabetes. In that example, if you don't know that you have diabetes, then there's no way you will have any kind of a structure in your life. Anytime you have some sugar, and Ishvara has made sugar as a very attractive thing for everybody, you will go for it. Whether or not it's useful to you is not in your vocabulary. Once you discover you have diabetes, then you begin to view your life differently. And the same thing is true for other kinds of foods, but let's just take the example of diabetes. Then you will regulate it. Yes, I can occasionally have, supposing, like your daughter has a birthday and cake is being served, and your daughter says, Dad, please have this cake. And you said, no, I cannot have this cake. Why not? Because I have diabetes. Stupidity. Break your rule for your daughter's birthday or something like this. But on your own, and then you say, in front of her you didn't want to do it, but later on in the afternoon you found the cake sitting there, then you said, let me just have a little bit of it. No. So you regulate your life based on that. So therefore what we say is that the karma as a yoga, so there the use of eating sugar and desserts is based on some structure, some ideas of health, my overall health. Similarly, the karma as a yoga only becomes relevant until your idea of the self as a reality becomes apparent to you. Until then, you are just going through life normally. But once you have an insight into what is it that the goal of life is, then you look at it in a much more structured way. And that structure now comes in terms of karma, the choice of karma. Then the second part of that will be the yoga. And without going into a lot of details on this here, what the third chapter points out, if you read it, you will see this. My idea is to give you an overview so you can get in the details yourself. That's the nature of the revision. Is that the whole design of the world is done in a manner that it's called a yajna. The whole life is nothing but a yajna. In fact, this is very well presented in Purusha Suktam. Purusha Suktam gives the whole idea of the yajna from the very beginning. how the Ishvara has designed this as a yajna. And all of us have to understand it and utilize it for our own good. So the elements of yajna are: you sacrifice something consciously in order to benefit both yourself and the society. So there in the Purusha Suktam, it's very nicely done. I don't know when we will have a chance to do that, but one of these days, I think I was telling this to the Tuesday night class, that this is really on my list. I would like to do that. My own understanding of Purusha Suktam has increased very rapidly in the last 4 or 5 years, and it would be nice to communicate that. So as part of that, this is also called Samaja Yajna. So Samaja Yajna, and by the way, this is where the discussion about the various classes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, and all that is brought about. This is called Samaja Yajna. So Samaja Yajna means that different parts of the body all have to work together for its own good. So for example, Swami Maheshanji was pointing out that supposing you stumble. Interesting example. You stumble. You didn't see an obstruction and you stumble. The first instinct is you try to put your hand down to support yourself. Swamiji gives a very example. He says your hands have a very particular function, because the hands also are careful not to get injured. Every part of your body has been given some intelligence that it should protect itself. Similarly, when something happens to your eyes, you immediately close it, because the eyes have an idea that nothing should really obstruct me. And the hand also, if you touch a warm, hot plate, immediately puts itself up, because it says, no, I don't want to get injured. So every part of the body has a certain identity, some ownership. Now, when the person stumbles, you fall down, and the hand can say, why should I get injured? Let the stomach hit the ground, I don't care. Has nothing to do with me. No, doesn't happen. So the hand says, I know, I'm going to get injured, but I sacrifice myself for the good of the body. This is called Samaja Yajna. So here, Swami Maheshanji was pointing out that Samaja, which means a society, is not just a collection of things. It is not a crowd. A society and a crowd are two different things. And the same thing is true, by the way, of a marriage. In the marriage, Swamiji points out, it is not two people living together, or two people very close to each other. He says we find that even in animals, where there are two people living together and so on and so forth. He says that's not what a marriage is. Marriage is a function where you together grow with the help of each other. So that's the example of the marriage. I'm just distracted here. But so similarly, going back to the Samaja Yajna, the Samaja Yajna means a society that depends on each other. This is what is being violated now with this new administration. That the whole sense of the society is being violated. And it's something that will not continue. And so the Samaja Yajna means that all parts of the society may have to sacrifice themselves here and there, like the hand sacrificed itself for the good of the body. So the whole thing is nothing but a yajna. Here, I think we can summarize the sense of karma yoga. There are various ways to summarize it. It just occurs to me that that's something that I need to highlight. So here they say that a successful karma yogi, one who has figured out how to convert activity into something which is very spiritual. Spiritual meaning which is good for me eventually. What is called shreyas as opposed to preyas. What is good for me is the following. I have a sense of being self-starting, doing it on my own, without being asked, and accept the consequences of my action. So here you can contrast two things, and one is a duty-based society and the other one is a right-based society. The more of a duty-based society, the happier the whole society will be. The more rights-based society it is, then it becomes really dependent, interdependent, full of conflicts and so on. So to summarize, a karma yogi has an attitude that I just want to do this on my own because I feel this is my duty. And I'm okay with it. I'll accept the consequences, whatever it is. In duty, in fact, this is given in the, I think we talked about, I think it was in the second chapter. Na pratyayaya na vidyate. So in a life of duty, there is no failure. There's no failure. You don't have a sense of that, you do the best you can. We're going through this Shankar Mahadevan concert. And it's a beautiful example, really, to exercise our life. Beautiful example. I can just tell you this is a fact, that this was something that was given to me. Swamiji had said it'll be nice to, not just particular concert this time, but we'll evaluate it whether it is useful or not, that's a different thing. But the whole aim for Seva was presented to us as, Swami, remember that in my life also he said that I think it'll be good for you to get involved. And so I'm learning a lot and also teaching others. It's a frustrating thing. We are, struggling with it. We haven't sold enough tickets and so on and so forth, and there's a lot of work that has to be done and so on and so forth. But I tell you, my attitude's been very self-revealing to myself. I see this as Ishvara's work, something that has to be done. I don't have a sense of failure or anything like that. I go to sleep perfectly. There are a lot of things that need to be done, a lot of things can be better, and I'm doing the best I can. And I just do it because this is something which is larger than me. My guru had told me, and Ishvara is involved in every step of the way, and whatever happens, happens. My sense of failure is not there, that I didn't do this. I might say that I remember this very interestingly, just recently. We had, when we did the allocation of the various price levels, we probably did not have enough $50 seats. So they got sold out. So we should have put some more, but at that point we all thought this is what it should be. But it turned out to be a little bit more price sensitive. No problems. We cannot go back and so on and so forth. I cannot beat myself and say, oh my gosh, why should I do this? Nothing like that. You go to the next step. And whatever the consequences will be, we'll accept it. And it's a sense of joy. This is how it is. So the Karma Yoga just means converting your normal work into something which is self-starting and also conducive to your own growth. Because the pravritti marga, again, I'm maybe repeating myself just to make sure that the points are made clearly. The pravritti marga is the path of looking outside. That's what pravritti marga is. A path of action, of engagement. Has one issue with it which is very important, which is dependence on other things. Dependence on other things is fraught with problems. Very naturally. You don't have control over what happens. Nivritti marga goes towards a sense of independence. But there also, if you're not ready, as we've been saying, then the nivritti makes you dependent on your own thoughts, your own regrets. I wish I had done this. And so, even though you are not acting outside, but inside you are stewing. Not good. That's not independence. In fact, Krishna in one of the verses was saying, Mithyachara sa uchyate. That outside you are, you're feeling that I'm okay, I'm not dependent. Inside, you're highly dependent. Not going to work. You have to be completely at peace with yourself and discover independence is your very nature, but you're confused about it. Atma and Anatma are all mixed in together. So to discover a true sense of independence, this is what I say, in the Tuesday night class also I was talking about this, Swami Dayananji used to say that. He says, to discover total love, you have to conquer partial love at least. You cannot say, I'm a Swami, I'm an appreciator of the free self, the Paramatma, and so on and so forth, but I don't like people. What was the main, what was it? He says, I love humanity, but it's the people that I don't like. It is something like this. So he says, mithyachara, that means you're a hypocrite, complete hypocrite. So in order to accept yourself, you also have to accept others. Otherwise, your own self-acceptance will not be real. Not be real. So the sense of yajna, there Swami Paramarthananda had given us a kind of like, so there was like Deva Yajna, Pitra Yajna, Rishi Yajna, Manusya Yajna, and Bhuta Yajna. Without going into the details of that, what it means is that I need to be at peace with things around me. People, plants, natural resources. I have to respect it, mutually respect it. And if I do, they will sacrifice it for my benefit, as I sacrifice it for others. So this is where the section in the third chapter goes into I'll just start with the verse number 9, for example. Yajna arthat karmanah anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. Beautiful verse. He says that if a karma is not done as an offering, as a yajna. Yajna means a sense of sacrifice. So that you are okay with it. If you feel that, why should I do sacrifice, then you are not ready for it. Then kindly keep on doing things as you do. But if you become mature enough to see that I'm okay with this, so any kind of a dhanam, any kind of a charitable work is a beautiful example of that. So Swami then used to say that. He says, if you want to define richness, what is the definition of being rich? What is the definition? So he says, it is not how much money you have. It is how much money you can comfortably part with. That is a much more accurate definition of richness. Because if you have lots of money, but you feel that, no, I don't have enough money, I can't do this, I got to have it for myself, then in our definition, you are not rich. But if you give some money because you feel comfortable about it, it's okay, because I have enough, that means your richness is real. So similarly here he says, Yagyartha karmanah anyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sanga samachara. He says that if you view life as a yajna and you do karma, to that extent you are free. To that, otherwise you are still bound. Like for example, the case of money that I gave, you feel that no, I cannot give more than just a small amount. That means you are bound by the money. If you are able to give a big donation, and then also you should not regret it. Oh my God, why did I do this? That's also not real. But if you feel comfortable with it, you give it, that's done with. Wonderful. Then you're twice blessed. You bless someone else and you bless yourself. To that extent, you're not karma bandha. Beautiful, very nice verse onto this. Then in the next few verses, he talks about Sahayagyaha prajaha srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavidhyashvam eshaha astu kamadhuk. So here, without going to the details of that, he says, please see that the design of the world is done where you have mutual dependence and you support each other. The various devas, they will give you what you want as long as you also give them their share. So here's a good example of that. Look at this. So devas means it's a concept where a particular aspect of your life is well protected and well established. Well established and well protected means that it is prevalent all over. It's not a kind of like a hit and miss. Example, beautiful example. Exercising your muscles. Okay? Exercising your muscles means the muscles have been designed that they need to be worked. If you do not exercise a muscle, it atrophies. This is a deva. So there is a deva for muscles. Really. We think of devas as being, Ganesha should be coming in front of me or something like that. They're all over. Your body is full of concepts that are well established and well protected. So one of them, for example, is the exercising of your muscles. If you exercise a muscle as it should be done, it will protect you and sustain you. This is a mutual thing. You say, well, no, I'm not going to exercise. I'm tired of exercising. Okay, so what will happen is that you try to use that muscle and then you will strain it and it will give you problems. So this is a perfect example. So this is on number 11. Devan bhavayatan ena te devaha bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyaha paramapsyastha. He says, recognize the mutual dependence. The mutual dependence. Here in the Taittiriya Upanishad and even otherwise, for example, another example of this mutual dependence is your attitude towards food. Food. If you have a healthy attitude towards food, you become the master and the food serves you. If you misuse food, the food becomes the master and it eats you. You have diseases and it consumes you and it can kill you. So again, the food has a deva associated with, there are laws associated with food. And you better respect it. Means that so for example, supposing you have lunch and you are a slave of your taste, that I must have fried puris today. And okay, fine, you have one puri. No, I want to have 4 fried puris. So now you've gone beyond the respect of food and you just want to have a good feeling. Puri and chana and aloo and this, that, all kinds of things. It has to go somewhere. It does have no place in your body to go. So it becomes some place, and if you keep on doing this, you're done for. That's it. So again, another same thing, that you have to really respect, be awareful. Because the whole idea of the food is that it sustains you, it gives you life. But if you abuse it, anyway, so that's the whole thing. Ishtan bhogan ihayo devaha, number 12, dasyante yajna bhavitaha taihi dattan apradaibhyaha yo bhunte stena evacha. Anyway, also all of this, this whole thing. Then I would say that I would summarize this portion that the whole creation is nothing but a yajna by this verse number 16, which we chanted today. So that's a summary. It says, evam pravartitam chakram na anuvartayati iha yaha aghayuhu indriya ramaha bhogam parthasa jivati. So here Swami Dayananda used to say that. In fact, Swami Chinmayananda used to say that. I still remember their words. He said, this enormous creation would be very difficult to start and maintain unless it is not on autopilot. Otherwise, you can see the creators will get tired. There are all over the place, there's terrorists and new types of presidents and this, that, or the other that create problems and so on and so forth. And if Ishvara has to really worry about that on a daily basis, he'll be tired. He says, oh my gosh, I take care of Trump and then somebody else that comes on from there. Now he goes over there and then the Trump makes some other difficulty. He's going to be, no. This whole thing has been put on an autopilot. Autopilot. We have really, it's, this is the thing, Swami Maheshananji used to say that. I think I gave this example on the Tuesday night, that, we Indians, we always, one of the things we should do in this life is to just take responsibility. Swami Dayananji is saying that you are the problem, you are the solution. What it means is we have to take responsibility for our life and stop blaming other things. It is part of the growth. So for instance, he says that in India it's very popular for us to say that, oh my gosh, these Muslims have completely changed our culture. We had a nice Vedic Hindu culture and the British enslaved us. And if, it's going to be, this is true for all of that. But he says, who's responsible for it? I talked about this on the Tuesday night class. Who's responsible for it? When you had a chance to be united against the Mughals, you didn't do it. When you have the chance to see that the British were trying to divide one Raja against another, you didn't see that. You allowed a simple British India company to rule this enormous nation. Didn't you see that? And now you're saying, oh, the British are the terrible people, they change our culture, this, that, or the other. You change your culture. I'm saying this in terms of Trump. We also say Trump is, who elected him? I was shocked to see that such a low percentage of women voted for Hillary. Shocked, really. I thought this would be a slam dunk. What a wonderful chance for a first woman to become a president, but we didn't do it. And now we are saying, oh, Trump, Trump, Trump. Ridiculous, it's our own fault. Suffer from it now. Let's go for 4 years and let's see what happens. You may re-elect him, you never know. Really, that might happen. Who knows? Take responsibility for it. So, evam pravartitam chakram means that Ishvara, this is Swami Chinmanand used to say that, I still remember this. He says, Vishnu is the preserver. Vishnu means the aspect of Ishvara. It's not as though Vishnu is separate from Ishvara, it's the aspect of it. So, Vishnu is supposed to be a babysitter. He is the world's babysitter. So, Dayanand used to say that. He says, sometimes it is very easy to have children, but to sustain them is much more difficult. Having children is not that difficult. You have sex and you just, children are born. And then after that, but to really educate them, to take care of them is much more difficult. So Vishnu is the taker care of, is the babysitter. And very big job to do that. But you know what? If you see he's lying down on a beautiful Naga serpent, and he's just lying down then. He's half asleep, just viewing this. What it means is the whole world is on an autopilot. Autopilot. Chakram. Chakram means it will take care of itself. Your karma and karma phala will divide itself, and you will automatically maintain it. It will happen by yourself. So therefore, in this verse number 16, it's pointing out that please recognize that everything, so this is another way to look at it, the whole world is an expert in recycling. Best recycler ever. Ishvara was the best recycler before we discovered recycling. He's already done it. And in fact, when we die, then our bones and flesh and so on become fodder for new plants. Those are eaten. In fact, when we eat plants, we're eating the flesh and bones of our forefathers. Exactly what happened. Best recycler. It's already done. And the sooner we recognize the pattern of chakram, the better off we will be. So a karma yogi, he says, if you look at the English translation of that, he says, a person who does not follow here in this life, this cosmic wheel, I'm looking at a slightly different book than the one that you may have. A person who does not follow here in this life, this cosmic wheel. Cosmic wheel means the autopilotness of it. That is already set in motion in this manner, then you are creating problems for yourself. Because you are going against the trends of it and so on and so forth. So that's what he's talking about. Then in the verse number 17 and 18, Krishna points out the advantages of someone who recognizes the autopilotness of it, who recognizes the order and the structure of life in this creation. Because unless I do that, I am not going to really put any sacrifices. Unless I know what is good for me, where am I going, what do I get out of it, I am not going to make any sacrifices. If I'm okay with not having dessert and it's a sacrifice, it's for a reason. And that reason is that I want to be healthy and I want to live longer or whatever. So therefore, number 17 and 18 points out why one would do karma yoga. And that is to recognize, not easy to recognize, but to recognize that a sense of joy, a sense of peace, and a sense of independence is my own nature. Because right now I don't think so. Don't think so. My sense of peace, my sense of independence, my sense of joy appears to come from outside of me. I've got to do some things, but it is not my innate nature. But this is wrong. This is not correct. It in fact is my own nature. In fact, every time I have joy, the locus is myself. It is interesting to see. So suppose you eat a donut. Eat a donut. The reason I'm saying donut is because my son was telling me. He says he met this fellow that he had not seen for a while, some friend, and he says he's put on a lot of weight since the last time he saw him. So he says it was not surprising because I was telling him, how was your day today? He says, oh gosh, I was so busy. It was I could not have time to eat. So he says, what do you do? He says, I just had about 2 or 3 donuts. That's all I had the time for. Okay, fine. So when you eat a donut, you have some joy. Otherwise, or ice cream or something like this. You would not, otherwise you won't eat it. He did not eat some salad from Whole Food or anything. He went to a donut because donuts give you because it's sugar. So look at this. The donuts are the locus of sugar. Donuts are a locus for some shape and some cooking and some weight. But where is the locus for joy? You cannot say that the donuts have the locus of joy. When you have joy, that is in you, not in the donut. Donuts actually have disappeared now. They've gone into your tummy. But the locus of joy is always the self. This is something to be really seen. Now, I make an error that my joy that I experience came from outside. But the fact of the matter is, all that the outside donuts did was to uncover my own joy that was obstructed because I was hungry, I was desirous of eating some sugar. What is it called? The sugar high. And so I was desirous of it. That's all it happened. So the advantages shown in the verse number 17 and 18 is that the karma yogi, the advantage of the sacrifice that the karma yogi does is to discover slowly. This is the amazing part. It doesn't happen right away. It takes some effort to figure out that my own joy is my own. And this is the advantage. And if you do this, then your pravritti marga becomes more effective in reaching nivritti marga. So I'll make a point. We have gone up to verse number 18. I'll take a break and just to see if there's some general discussion. And then, in fact, you know what? I think I can just go and finish. So just to give you the structure of this chapter. The Karma Yoga, the concept of Karma Yoga, which began with Arjuna's question, the very first verse of the third chapter, the very first, he says, Arjuna uvacha jayasi chet karmanos te maya mata buddhir. So that concept of Karma Yoga is summarized into verse up to the half of verse number 20. In fact, 19 you can say. So 17, 18 and 19 summarizes the Karma Yoga. And a slightly different topic is now begun in the second half of verse number 20, which says, Loka sangraham eva api sampashyan kartum arhasi. So that's why I chanted up to the 20. And we'll begin, and I think most probably we will finish the revision of the verse number of chapter number 3 either in 1 or 2 classes. Maybe in 1 class, I don't know. But we'll begin with number 20 and summarize that. We've already gone through all of the chapter, and then our revision will be over, and then we will go to the 4th chapter. So with that, let me stop and do prayer, and then open for any questions and so on. Discussion. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Question? Any? Yeah.
Ramanji. A Sanskrit word for sacrifice?
Sanskrit word for sacrifice would be Tyaga would be one. Yes, Tyaga would be. Yeah, Tyaga would be a good word. Tyaga. Yeah. Yeah.
In morning class you mentioned Agam, and what is Nigam?
Nigama has different meanings. I think it has, I'll have to look at all the possibilities. I'd rather keep the questions on this class.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's just do that, what is discussed here. Yeah.
You said Atyanta Bhava will go away when at yogi.
Again, that's a previous class.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's keep it to this class. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
This liberation, moksha, it will come only when there is no bhed between you and Parmeshwar. Is it just the conceptive bhed or what you experience?
No, as we were discussing again in the morning class, we haven't really talked about this in here so far, is that's the bheda is a superimposition which is not true. So the difference between myself and Parameshwara, which means the difference between myself and the world, is a pratiti. It's just a feeling, but it has no substance to it. But the non-substantiveness of it will only come from an understanding. Because, see, here's the thing, our mind is always generally follows its own logic, and so you don't, you're not convinced of something as long as the oppositeness of is not, is clear to you. Until then, you just keep on behaving in a certain way. So the bheda, so the feeling of differences between me and the world is because you're not looking at the commonality of it. See, this is what happens. And even in even our regular day-to-day life on a certain scale is the same way. So for instance, if you find that there are differences between genders, that if you and I are males, then we look upon females as a different class. Then when it comes to, let's say, issues with respect to health, then we are in the same class. Same thing with respect to, let's say, human beings and animals. When it comes to floods and earthquakes, we both are equally affected. And so we have a certain commonality to that. Then when it comes to life, movement, and being alive, then we can find, commonality with all living things. And so similarly, you keep on removing the bheda based on a viewpoint. Same thing with respect to nationalities. We look upon, let's say people from China differently. But if you look at certain fundamental ideas and so on and so forth, we are the same. So similarly here also, the bheda between myself and Parameshwara is just a viewpoint which has no reality to it. So I need to understand where is the commonality between myself and Parameshwara. Once I do that, then for all practical purposes, see, so the bheda means that for practical purposes, I can still continue to do what I'm doing, but my sense of duality goes away. Individuality goes away. And this is what we're studying. One day it will go. It will go. So,
what is the pratiyogita? Why is it?
Pratiyogita means that what's keeping it from me is an inadequate understanding of the commonality between Ishvara and myself. I don't understand it. So I accept the prima facie evidence which is given to me by my eyes and my mind and so on and so forth. But I don't really have how to interpret it properly.
So that is this concept, not understanding, as you say, result of your previous karmas and vasanas?
So, no, the previous karma and previous vasana is also the result of ignorance. Ignorance is and ignorance has no beginning. Ignorance has no beginning whatsoever. It is beginningless. It is always there. See? So for example, I think I gave this example. If somebody were to come in, let's say a person came in who's my brother, and I introduce him as my brother. So he says, "Oh, that's nice that I didn't know that he's your brother." So I ask you, when did this ignorance begin that he is my brother? You'll say, "I don't know." That's exactly right. I don't know when it began. You cannot say, "Oh, it began yesterday morning." No. The ignorance has no beginning whatsoever. So it's always been there.
So will it always be there?
No. So this is the thing, that the nature of ignorance is that it has no beginning but an end. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you said doing karma yoga, let's just assume that, like here we have some kind of desire, I don't know, to get in certain college, for kids, and we growing up we want certain car, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So we are following this, Gita advice that you do your karma yoga, and we are doing it, but you are not reaching to certain desire. So meanwhile, it's just frustrating because you're doing what you're supposed to do, and then you're like, oh my God, why is it taking so long? Or you understand that why you're not getting. You know in your conscious mind that yes, you, like you said, you are God. Let's just take that example, and you're doing what Gita says. You're coming to these lectures, understand. But at certain point, you're just not getting there. That yes, I understand it, but then I'm not feeling it. Why is it taking so long?
Yeah. So that's a very normal thing. We'll have to go through that. We'll discuss this, and this is not even a simple thing to do in one lecture. But in order for me to understand and to, as you say, feel it, you first have to understand the basics of it. Your mind is not yet ready to abandon and say, okay, I now accept it, because it's got a lot of questions. They haven't been resolved yet. And so we have to go through, eventually the blessing that you seek is your own blessing. The blessings of Ishvara and the blessings of Vedas and the blessing of teacher and all those are there. But the Atma has to bless, your own mind has to bless, and it says, yes, this makes sense. That will take its time. So, what the difference is between an introduction and a conviction. And that difference goes by understanding the questions that your mind asks and to having an answer to each one of those questions. That means education. And so that will take time and it will happen. Yeah.
My mind has no difficulty understanding right action.
Yeah.
But if everything is God-given, why are we emphasizing sacrifice?
Because you're already at a point. Already means that you are at a point, not already, but remove the word already. You are at a point where our sense of what the source of joy is, our goal in life and so on, is confused. It's confused. And so, despite a harmonious creation of Ishvara, I don't see it as a harmonious creation. I see it as a antagonistic creation. And so, to see the harmoniousness of it requires your own understanding of what is it, why am I not seeing that? And so, actually, I think another way of looking at your question, which is something we have to think about, the multiplicity of the creation is only possible if mistakes are a part of it. Yeah, I often say this, that for example, supposing there is a painter that wants to paint a picture, then it requires certain ingredients to paint the picture. You know, colors and paints and so on and so forth. Now, if Ishvara has to design a creation, the only ingredients to do that are mistakes. Mistakes meaning seeing something when it is not there. That's the ingredient. The paint of it is Maya Shakti alone. Maya Shakti is the one that allows us not to see the reality as it is. It makes us look at things differently than it is. This is the Maya Shakti. And the Maya Shakti resides with Ishvara. And Ishvara has to use that as part of a pretend creation. To us, it is not pretension. To us, it looks like very real. Kind of like a dream in that sense. So when we also dream, there's no reality to the dream, but we impart certain reality and we either enjoy or suffer. So similarly here also, we are at a point where the creation of the Ishvara, even though it is all makes sense, but the play of it confuses me because I don't have an adequate understanding of the plot, and once I do, then I enjoy the whole thing. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Just a follow-up on what you just said about Maya.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if Maya is fake, then what's the point behind it?
So the Maya, this thing is that Maya is fake, but the reality behind that is not fake. See, fake. So the example we were looking at in an earlier class, that you look at, you mistake a rope to be a snake. So the snakeness of it is Maya Shakti. But a snake would not appear to be a snake until it has some reality behind it, which is a rope. You cannot just imagine a snake in thin air. Something must confuse you to see that, but not correctly. So the projection of it, due to whatever reasons, fear and so on and so forth, that is the Maya Shakti. But the Maya Shakti actually resides in your own self. And so once the falsity of the Maya Shakti is called out, then you resolve into the reality of it. Yeah. So, as I mentioned in my email, then next Saturday we have this concert by Shankara Mahadevan. And so we will be so busy during the morning also that we will not have a time to have a class. So we will skip the class next Saturday, and we will see you again 2 weeks from today. Okay?